The Batman is a brooding man's fun inner monologue, and you'll find out in a bit. It's Tech, this is GVN, let's rock. The Batman was released on the 4th of March 2022 in the cinemas, and right now it's available for streaming on HBO Max, to be precise. It was directed by Reeves, whom I think did an amazing job, and it stars a couple of interesting people like Robert Pattinson as Batman. I mean, moving forward, I'm going to be calling him Pattinson because I think he did a good job, like Batfleck, this is Pattinson. We have Zoe Kravitz, Catwoman, we have Jeffrey Wright, we have Paul Dano, we have Andy Serkis, and the list goes on and on. A couple of interesting people played interesting characters in this movie. Now, the premise, it's interesting because I remember watching the trailer once and I saw that this version, so Paul Dano plays the Riddler, but this version of the Riddler is a sort of amalgam between Hush, whom is like the most intelligent and brilliant version of the Riddler, and the regular Riddler, and then some sort of real-life situation character that is sort of sick and twisted. And I'll get into that in a bit, but let's start with Robert Pattinson Batman. Now, this is him just starting out as Batman, so he doesn't have a lot of trust with the police yet, but he has a relationship with Jim Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright. And yeah, I know that unlike normal canon, Jim Gordon is a white character in the comics, but in this movie he's black. And personally, I'll say right off the bat, I don't have an issue with making the B-list, C-list characters a different race, a different, even gender as well sometimes. So your ethnicity changes and all that. I think it's fine. But see, and I'm saying that right now because I know a couple of people had issues with that going into this movie. But one thing I would say is this. There are some major characters, the main characters, that you do not touch their race. They were made that way for a reason. Yes, even though they were made, some of these guys were created in 1940s, 1950s, where it was more of the whites and less of the blacks, the minorities, the Hispanics and all that. But at the same time, now that the culture has cemented them as white characters, keep them white. If this person is black, keep the person black. Don't do that old race switching thing. At least that's my opinion. So I was happy at least that Robert Pattinson is white, not black. And yes, it's coming from me, a black person, because I wouldn't like a black Bruce Wayne. I mean, it's the same way we got Spider-Man, right? We got Peter Parker, and then we got Miles Morales. Miles Morales is the perfect example of being sort of socially correct, if I do say so myself, because his dad is black, his mom is Hispanic. It doesn't get more mixed than that, you get? So they did not make Peter Parker black all of a sudden, but instead they created one whom is a standout character in his own right and is doing really well in the comics, and when he's introduced in the MCU, I bet a lot of you guys will love him too. So why did I say all of that? Is because Zoe Kravitz, who also plays Black Woman, who is, I said Black Woman, Catwoman, is black. Yeah, Zoe Kravitz is black, and of course, normally Catwoman is white. So then, with the exception of Halle Berry too, who played it, and I think she rocked it, but the movie sucked, but Halle Berry rocked Catwoman, she rocked Black Catwoman. Zoe Kravitz, I also think, did a really good job. And yeah, we've got Jeffrey Wright, who plays Jim Gordon. I think he also did a good job with this character. Now, talking about different characters, then we've got Alfred. I've always loved Alfred from the comics and every iteration of Alfred, because Alfred is the father figure to Bruce Wayne and Batman. Like, his father figure to the entire Bat family. Is someone who keeps him grounded. Like, he's his dad. And he refers to Bruce as his son. And the Serkis, I think, did a really good job in it. There is this scene, where they were having a conversation which got a little bit heated. And then, he told him, "You are not my father." I don't know. I've probably never seen that in the comics, where Bruce Batman will tell Alfred, "You are not my father." But then, it's clear that, of course, from the premise of the movie also, he's just starting out his career as Batman, because there's no trust between him and the entire police force yet and all that. So yeah, it's understandable. Maybe this is just him, in his early 20s, still doing that, "Oh, you are not my father" situation. But then he knows in his heart, this man is his father, this man raised him. Yeah, that part, it stood out for me in this movie because it shows the kind of relationship they have moving forward in the movie. Now, speaking of the villain himself, and that is Riddler, or Hush in this case. He is seen as Riddler in the movie Edward Nigma, although I think it's Edward Norton this time or something. But Edward Nigma, now from the comics, Hush is his brilliant version. Like, Hush is his version that found out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And how did that happen? So there's this thing called the Lazarus Pit, and if you watch Batman Begins, that's the one that Nolan directed, the trilogy, the first part, you know, there's a person called Ra's al Ghul that trained Bruce Wayne. Now, Ra's al Ghul is someone whom is been alive for centuries now, and what has kept him alive? The Lazarus Pit. Now, the Lazarus Pit contains this liquid substance that sort of revives you, like it brings you, it has the power to sort of bring people back from the dead, but then for a living person, what it does is cures you of any illness and regresses your age, so it makes you younger. And then Edward Nigma was dying in the comics, and he found a way to get to a Lazarus Pit. And while he was in the Lazarus Pit, that was when, while his disease was also being cured, he was able to piece a couple of things together, and he figured it out that, aha, Bruce Wayne is Batman. And yeah, it was really interesting in the comics, and also the animation that they created. I think it was maybe in 2020 or early 2021. I think you guys should watch it if you've not seen it. It's really fun. Now, why am I giving this backstory? Because in the movie, Paul Dano that plays the Riddler, he has a bit of the Hush side, because he has, you know, the look with the Leatherface and everything. Riddler is more riddles with jokes, and the sort of carnage that he would cause, it wasn't on the scale of the Riddler of this movie. Like, man, the Riddler of this movie was almost like a Joker level kind of carnage, and I think it was just brilliant because he was on par with this Bruce, and you know, clearly he's just starting out. It's not Bruce Wayne that is like now a more experienced detective and all that. It's just starting out, so it was on par with his level of detective skills, and I think it really made for a fun adversary for him. And speaking of fun adversaries, this one that was really funny to me was Colin Farrell as the Penguin. See, when I first saw set pictures, I was like, Colin Farrell. It was crazy because it was like, how did they turn this guy into this guy? It was insane. It was almost unrecognizable. See, honestly, if I did not know that was Colin Farrell, I would not know that was Colin Farrell. You understand what I'm saying? Because he did not look like him in the movie. I think they did a really good job with the makeup. The makeup team did such an amazing job. And Colin Farrell also, he brought it. Like, he really did deliver in this movie. I think every single person that was casted in this movie was casted right, even with the races, the races that changed. That's for Jim Gordon and for Catwoman. I think they really did a good job, and it was one thing that brought me in and kept me watching this movie, because this movie is quite long. Minus the credits, it's 2 hours 46 minutes long, so it is a long movie. But then it did not feel boring to me at any point, because you could see that, yes, this wasn't Batman with all the plenty gadgets yet, but then he had some of those gadgets that would let you know that, yes, this is a Batman type thing. You get. It was an example was see, there was this funny part with the opening scene. You know, he was doing his whole inner monologue, and then there was the bat signal in the sky, which was Jim Gordon signaling, and you know, it was beginning to build his reputation. So this was also a sign for the bad guys to know that, yes, Batman is on the prowl, so we better behave ourselves. And you know, there was that scene with him fighting with these guys, and him with his, you know, chopping bullets and all that. And I'm going to say right off the bat, I feel safer. Like, I don't feel as scared for Iron Man as I feel for Batman, because the truth is, yes, okay, he has a bulletproof vest and he has his cape and he has all that, but see, below his nose is all of this. A bullet could hit him there and he could die. So I think the stakes are higher as Batman. It's scary. It's because he's just a regular dude, and honestly, this guy, and not to make light of this situation, but really, a stray bullet could kill him. Like, that's just how it is. I mean, a stray bullet through the face comes out, or maybe it doesn't come out because the bat might be bulletproof, but and that's the end. It's like someone just shoots him, stray bullet, the end. It's no longer 2 hours for 6 minutes. The movie was like 5 minutes long. It's crazy because he faces guys that shoot shotguns at him, and I mean, I know a lot of it is movie logic, and I'm going to mention one part that it was just like, you people are lying now. But then I think the introduction in that train scene for him, when I said, "Who are you supposed to be?" was like,
I'm vengeance.
I think that was like quite cute, and it was rather interesting to watch. I liked the way they also introduced his character with Selena Kyle as Catwoman. And when he goes to the bar to ask the Penguin a couple of questions about the mayor that the Riddler just killed, and he killed him in such a gruesome fashion. Like, it's different when you just slice someone's throat or something. Even though it's painful, I mean, death is death, it sucks. But then, bludgeoning a person and then leaving clues and all of that, so crazy. And then, him following her. Now, even because this is a Batman movie, there are other instances where him following her to her house and then using the binoculars to look through her window and then look at her while she was changing. That was like a bit voyeuristic, that was like, nah, fam, you don't do that. But then, yeah, that him following her back to the mayor's place and then find him seeing her, just appearing and seeing her and not trying to escape from him. That their whole fight thing was like a cat and rat situation, even though it was like a bat and cat situation. But then it was quite fun, it was quite cute. I think I like the way the premise was already established for them. Really, and this was, I think Zoe Kravitz brought it as Catwoman. She brought it as, this is a Catwoman who doesn't play, like she's out for blood. And I like her character. Like, she cares about the people she cares for, and she's out for those that maybe bring any form of harm towards or to our people that she cares about. And I think she really did a good job with that one. And remembering that scene about where they met again in the mayor's office, there was that part where she got the passport and then he got it from her, and he was looking at it and he was trying to stop her from getting it. So it was like a guy that was just pushing his sister away. It was like some kind of Eddie parting when it was like go away, and she was like, gimme, and I was like, no. Honestly, I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny. It was, and this was a movie that did not set out to be funny, which I think is one thing I like. That anything anybody found funny or comedic was just because it happened organically. I really like that. I think director Reeves did a really good job. And another area where I think they did a good job was with the sound design. There was just something about the sound, especially when it was getting that eerie, when you're getting that eerie vibe, that spooky vibe. I think they really nailed it with the sound design in this movie. That's something that I would say really got me hooked on this movie. And the action also, a lot of the action sequences, yes, it does not involve the usual Batman tech gadgets and everything, but I would say there were still some really dope action scenes. I mean, look at that car chase scene, for example. The car chase scene between Batman and the Penguin. I mean, that scene was insane, yo. Like, it was really nice. And at the end of the day, when the car was upside down, the Penguin was upside down in the car, and then Batterson comes out of the car, and there's the whole slow motion thing upside down. I think it's one of those moments where you can agree with me, it was earned. Like, the slow motion was earned because that action scene was just really brilliant. Okay, so we get to the burial where he's Batman, and then he told Jim that people that perpetrate crimes like to stay around the area so that they'll see what they've done. And yes, he noticed, lo and behold, he was there. But then the Riddler was there, and there was the DA and a bomb strapped to his neck, and it was crazy because he was trying to get the info out of him, and I was like, this thing's about to blow, what is going to happen? And then this actually did explode. And yeah, I get that he's Batman, and we give that we even use that as a joke, when maybe the moon is crashing into Earth and Batman survives, and we're like, what's the reason for that? And we just say, he's Batman. So I get that, it's a joke, it's a running joke, but come on. There are some things you expect us to believe, and there are some things that just don't make any sense. A bomb explodes. I mean, there's quite a distance between me and the camera right now, but even if a bomb explodes where the camera is, I think my face will feel it in a way. I know it goes back to the point I said earlier. If this was Iron Man, his entire face is covered. This is Bruce. Even if part of his face is covered, there is his eyes, and then there is the bottom part of his face that should have felt the explosion in some way. And I thought, okay, when he knows that this guy is about to explode, he can't save him. Maybe we'll just use his cape to cover himself. And yes, of course, he can escape it. We can believe that. But then it blows right in his face. and nothing happens to his face. You don't hear oh now. It is plenty lies. It is plenty lies. You have to tame your lies a little bit. So it was weird to me that, come on. I think that part should have just had that covering. Something, because there is no way a bomb blows up in front of you and you don't feel the effect in some way. But all he just had was like a concussion, and then was taken to the police station, and they were trying to say it was him. And of course there are a lot of corrupt cops and all of that. And now moving to the scene after that, so him and Jim, they hatch this plan. Jim says, hit me, here's the key, and then he jumps out. See, here's the thing, and here's something that I really like about this movie. It had a lot more in terms of realism than more film tricks. Yeah, I just mentioned the part of the explosion, which was plenty like. But then, see, when he escaped from the police station, right, he had his paraglider on. So it wasn't just like the cape that we are used to, that we just say, oh, it's the cape, and he's gliding through the wind. No, he had the paraglider thing, and he was going through, and yeah, I mean, that was a crazy maneuver and all that, but he escaped. And that was more grounded in reality, if you get what I mean. I mean, the crash was crazy, and on a normal day, most people would die. I mean, he was hurt, but not hurt as badly. But hey, the movie has to continue now. The movie cannot just end there. But that scene was crazy, and I think hats off to them. They really did well. And I'm going to say it. I enjoyed this movie so much that if they want to connect it to part of the cinematic universe, I mean, it's been announced that there will be a second part, and I think the Joker will be in it, because there is a post-credit scene that is online. You can check. You see the Joker. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Joker being everywhere the Batman is. I think he has other people that he can deal with. And while I know that the Joker is a psychological nightmare for the Batman, I do not like it. That's why I prefer Nolan's version of the Joker, that when him and the Batman met face to face, the Batman beat the crap out of him. It was more psychological, right? And if they are going that route, because it's most likely going to be the Joker in the second part, it has to be more of a psychological thing, not a physical thing, because the Batman is Joker's superior physical, full stop. That's it. So I like the way the story progressed up until when, okay, the character of that's the Catwoman character now finds out that her father is the one that got her friend killed, and she's going for revenge. And even though Batman said not like this, she's just going. So he has to go into the club and do all of that, and then they were fighting. And here's the thing: when her father was choking her, see, as a guy, I am always really protective of my nether region, because I mean, even the smallest hits will take you out as a man. Like you will feel it, right? And then here he is choking her, and he has his legs wide open, and she has her legs in between his legs. And somehow, you won't tell me that somehow Catwoman, that even when men are fully on their guard, can attack and bring you down, cannot actually kick him there. Like, is that what you really want to tell me, that she cannot give him a kick in the balls? Come on. That I think that part felt unreal at the end of the day. But then yes, they got him apprehended because Batman comes to save her. Again, being the Batman is dangerous AF, because when they got out, Maroni got sniped, like just pretty much immediately. So it makes it a case of, if the bad guys wanted to take him out, like, I don't know, I just feel the concept. That's why I still prefer Batman of the Future, because his whole face is covered, right? And it could be like some sort of Kevlar mesh thing, so his entire face is covered. Even his eyes are not covered. And really, there are snipers that will get you from a distance, So it's like maybe a lot of things that happen with Batman are luck. I mean, when you think about it logically, but still overall, I think this movie was a really good part. The reveal about Bruce's parents, I think that was just so touching, and it was such a really good scene. And then when he got targeted by the Riddler, and instead it was Andy Serkis's Alfred that got the bomb instead. I see a bit of a plot hole there, because the truth is, this is an Alfred that has reviewed the first cipher with you and the second cipher, so at least he knows how that handwriting looks. So if he sees a package that looks like that handwriting, you should know that, come on now, this spells trouble. You are not going to be waiting for one thing or the other. You see it, you throw it away, then the explosion is far from you. You understand? But then, hey, I saw that as a plot hole. I was like, hey, let's just enjoy this movie. Let's just continue. And then Then we get to Act 3. See, now here's the thing. So everything looks like it's done, right? The Riddler has been arrested, and then I look at it and I see that I still have like about 40 plus minutes left in this movie. I was like, what is there to say? But yeah, of course, I know that the movie did not feel complete to me yet. So I was, of course, clearly I was there for the ride because I was already hooked. And then we see that this guy is in jail, but then he has his followers, about, say, there were like about 30 to 40 of them. And then, you know, he goes to visit him in jail. And then he mentions the name Bruce Wayne. And you know, for a moment, I thought this was going to be the Hush from the comics and the animation, because remember, he realized that he found out that Batman is Bruce Wayne. So when he said Bruce Wayne, and then he continued talking, he now gave himself up that he was only pained that he did not get to kill Bruce Wayne, but he did not realize that Batman was Bruce Wayne. So maybe that was deliberate on the part of the director or not, but I think that was a pretty interesting scene. And then, you know, him now finding out, so going back to the scene of the crime, because when he said he thought Batman could have figured it out, when he went back to the scene of the crime, the same policeman that did not like him at the beginning and don't want him into the scene now finds out that, okay, he's the one in the scene, and you know, now he's cool with him because he's done a couple of good things with them. And then he now finds out that there was actually a clue under the rug, and then you see that there are meant to be explosions around the city, flooding the city, killing people and all that. And you know, here's the crazy thing about radicals: they will always have followers. And then it turns out that this guy actually has followers that are armed to the teeth, and all of them are dressed like him, ready to kill. Like, that's final third act. I think it was really, really well done. The director, Matt Reeves, the scriptwriter, whose name I don't know, I should have learned, but then I think the entire team, I think they really did a good job. V6 did a review much earlier in March when this movie came out. He did not really like it as a Batman movie, and funny enough, he's a crazy Batman fan. He loves Batspect, but he did not really like it. But I would say Battinson, I remember a friend of mine told me, it was like the vampire did well as Batman because, you know, most people will still keep referring to Pattinson as the vampire in the Twilight series that many people hate, or you are on one of two sides. You either hate it or love it. Personally, I have nothing against it. I don't hate it. I'm not crazy about it, but I have nothing against the Twilight series. I watched it and it was okay. But yeah, I think overall, this movie was a really good watch. It's one that I really did not feel like I wasted 2 hours 46 minutes of my life. It was really good. I would definitely love to watch it again, but hopefully when I've forgotten some stuffs about the movie, so maybe like a year or two from today. But it was a really good watch, and it's one that I'll definitely recommend. The Batman movie gets a 9 over 10 from us here at GVN. If you've enjoyed this review and you've liked what you watched, I guess that's the same as enjoying this review. Feel free to check out this video or this video next to see some of our other dope reviews on the channel. And it's me, your boy Tech for GVN. Peace.